There we are. Okay. Oh, had people. Oh, maybe didn't. Alrighty. Nobody watching the moment, so I think maybe it was maybe borrow a page from Mecca. Go ahead and do my Doctor Who review now. Uh, let's see. Last Doctor Who, The Haunting of. What was the name of the house again? Let me look that up here. Actually, where's this take care of? Okay. Yeah, Jesus. Let's see what there. Ah, people showing up here. Okay. Yeah, I think let's see. I might borrow a page from Mecca's method of Via Diodati. Okay, that's it. Haunting of Via Diodati, and did a little bit of He may have already been castrated. That might not solve anything. Okay, but Doctor Who. Haunting of Mount Via Diodati. I did a little poking around because there's a few things confused me, even because I got my history all wrong on that. Because I heard that Bram Stoker somehow was involved in this, but actually he wasn't born for like another. His part was like 70 years later, but it was inspired by the event, but it was long after. But basically, little so the general background is it was Lord Byron's place, and he had Percy Shelley. They weren't married yet. Mary, she called herself Mrs. Shelley, but Mary Scollingruff, they already had a kid. So 1816, that was a bit on the scandal side, which of course delighted Lord Byron no end. But and actually, this is where the foundations where the little writing contest of people to come up with the most scary story they can think of, and Mary Shelley came back with the beginnings of Frankenstein, and it was the Polidori is the name of the character. The doctor who's there. He was portrayed in the episode as a sleepwalking, belligerent twit. He's the one who came up with a vampire story, and that in turn later inspired Bram Stoker to write Dracula. So, but they really never got into much of it, so because I don't know. It's like they brought the doctor and the companions in, but it's like there was no real reason for them to be there. It's one thing if they were chasing something and what they were chasing just happened to be there at the villa, but it's like there really wasn't. They just crashed the party, and that's just a very unfocused purpose for the whole thing in the first place. So, and as far as how they portrayed the characters, I never got the impression Mary Shelley was that, but who knows? Don't really know much about her personality in the first place, but that's not the impression I always got of how she was. What I've read, about this time, Percy Shelley, yeah, he did seem like a bit of a fraidy cat, actually. So Him hiding in the cellar. Okay, yeah, that's not pretty out of character for him. But Byron literally using hiding behind a gal. It's like that. I don't know. That's just going out of your way to make him look like an idiot. Okay. All they did is just show him as the amoral horn dog he was. That should do it all right there. You don't need to embellish things. But it's like it really was just sort of an unfocused mess. And you throw a half-finished Cyberman in there, and it just gets even weirder. So it's like, I don't know. They had half a good idea, and it just muddled it. And it's kind of like they're trying to remember how to do Doctor Who, but then they still can't get out of their own way. It's like they still got to push an agenda here and there, and some one of the there's on Rabbi to the Planet His stream. One of the panels there was it's really Ofcom that's pushing this stuff. The BBC is just kind of like, hey, they're telling us what to do, so yeah, they deserve some of the crap they're getting, but it's not all the BBC. It's they're being pushed on their own here. So yeah, direct your ire to BBC, but also push it up little further with the food chain if you're going to make protest calls. Go to Ofcom. I forget what it stands for, but it's the British equivalent of the FCC. They're the ones who tell the broadcasters what to do, and they have a little firmer hand than the FCC does because they don't have a Bill of Rights over there per se. They don't have First Amendment. They have. Well, let me qualify that a bit. Yeah, the British system, they have a lot of the same rights in principle, but they haven't been written down per se. I mean, there's even a right to keep and bear arms to a certain extent, but they also don't have it. But yeah, it's not really written down, so they can play fast and loose with it. And the right to free speech. It's a very British thing, being able to speak your mind without repercussions. But they like to curtail that. Well, you can't say this about the Queen type of thing, or you're getting a little out of hand. It's kind of like Stephen Fry was a conversation in an interview said the difference between the Americans and the American society and the British society is the Americans made a big deal about a free society, just kind of as much no holds barred, and there are certain problems that come with that, like people just kind of go nuts and get out of hand and cause problems, and you can't change because it's a free country. Whereas British society was more interested in being a just society. Which means sometimes you got to tell somebody by force of law to shut the hell up, and sit down and stop bugging people. So it's a trade-off. What would you rather live in? And that's a tough one. I go back and forth because I do have this thing of one day maybe retiring to England. Getting back to my land of my ancestors. Maybe wrapping up a little genealogical research. Fill in a few gaps because the thing is from this side of the Atlantic, it's kind of hard to fill in a few lines here and there. So I feel like quite more than I thought I would. I mean, right now I go on Ancestry.com and I've got stuff going clear back to the 1500s, but that's a little sketchy. And sometimes I got two different accounts because I created them different times, so two different trees going on that one, and they're not exactly the same because the hints change from time to time. So I would like to try and reconcile that stuff here, but there's just a few more details I'd like to nail down here. I saw that on Red Letter Media, and while realistically it is a supremely stupid idea, I would not be the least bit surprised if they actually do it. If they try to blame the whole thing on the wrong, because it's Alex Kurtzman is just a slave to the whole tiny universe thing. How everything's going to be connected to something else, and it's like, Why can't it be from somewhere out in the Delta Quadrant where we don't know who the hell started this mess? Because that would make a lot more sense. Because it's also the theory that Voyager 6, when it went to that black hole and wound up on the other side of the galaxy, ran into a one version of the Borg, which was actually all living machines. There was no organic. That's why they saw Voyager's, the Voyager as kind of a kindred spirit. But let me wrap up Doctor Who first before we move to Star Trek here. We got maybe a couple episodes. I think we're going right in, because this is supposed to be like really a 3-part finale. We're like just saw part 1, so we got a 2-part finale coming up, and it's part of the whole thing. It's like everything is going, everything you know is a lie. It's all different, and this never works. I mean, the number of times it has probably worked, you could count on one hand, I imagine. And usually it had to do with either it was really early in a run of a show type thing or property where nobody was that invested in what had come up to that point, or as a franchise nobody cared about, and you're essentially just rebooting it. Nobody gives a rat's ass. Something like this where people are very much invested in the history. And not just in an emotional sense, but also financially, because people who buy all the books and the various manuals and stuff, and the games or whatever, that is a physical, financial investment in the history of that. And when you tell them everything they've just spent all their hard-earned money on is wrong, they take it very badly. Okay. Like that Doctor Who tech menu you bought back in the 80s, wrong. All those DVDs, and especially the various times when like the Five Doctors, or in the more recent one with the Christmas special, where it's very clear that the David Hartnell / David Bradley, William Hartnell / David Bradley Doctor is the original, and we have seen scenes that back that up. And it was I think it was Day of the Doctor, or whatever once where Clara is bouncing through time. We see her advising the Doctor and Susan. No, don't take that one. Take this one over here. The navigation's not good, but it'll be much more fun. That's because they were stealing the TARDIS from the Paradox on Gallifrey. It was still just this plain metallic cylinder with a door. And it didn't get the police box until it landed on Earth and got stuck. So when you start pulling this thing up, no, it happened. She was pre-partner. Then why is it a police box? You're just opening up a can of worms, Jibs. Okay. I said it. Every time I bring this up, you better be able to land this thing with the grace and style of Nadia Comaneci in her prime, and score straight 10s. Or you will tank this franchise. Or at least bash it on the rock so badly that whoever becomes the next head of the BBC, and they're changing heads of the BBC, will have no choice but to fire your sorry ass in no uncertain terms. Because, kind of like as important as Star Trek is to Viacom, Doctor Who is even more. Doctor Who is a cultural institution. Previous time when during the 80s when they tried to cancel Doctor Who, there was public outcry, and they had to very shortly bring it back for a while. And when it finally pulled the plug on it for certain, on Terry Wogan's show. Terry Wogan was like, he was like Johnny Carson at the time over in England. He was a talk show, And during the opening monologue, a Cyberman comes out, stands there, "Congratulations, BBC! You have done what we have failed to do. You have defeated the Doctor." They did not let them off any easy. This is a BBC show too, so they Doctor Who was a big thing back then. the BBC was embarrassed for a doctor because it was the drama department. It wasn't the children's department where they would love it. It was the drama department. They were embarrassed to be doing this, ostensibly kiddie show. And now the thing is, when they brought it back into the and well, officially on the record, supposedly, they didn't plan on it being off the air that long. They were going to bring it back in a year or two, but they could never find a producer that put forth a compelling vision for the show. To say why should we give you the reins to this thing, and no one can come up with a good reason. So that's why it took so damn long. Basically, Russell T Davies had to grow up and get a bit of a record and a decent enough resume built up before he was like, yes, I want to do Doctor Who. Here's what I want to do. And it was basically BBC saying, thank you, finally we can get this thing going and get back to work. All right, so, and I'll say it again, Doctor Who, I don't think they're going to cancel it. They might take it off for a year or two while they figure out and find somebody else who knows what the hell they're doing, and then start over again. And you'll get a regeneration scene and you get a new doctor, and they'll start off and they'll try and repair the damage done. But you will never get those fans back. That you'll never get it back to the glory days it was in Tennant and into Smith. Especially not if Ofcom continues to insist on pushing their little agenda and keep meddling in things that they clearly have no clue what they're talking about as far as like scripted television. It's like, leave it alone, okay? A few notes here and there. Yes, we should make show more diversity here and but. It'd be good if we saw more diverse faces and heard more diverse voices on the air. Yes, advisory thing, but when you start mandating it, you start getting idiotic things like animated films about Romans in Britain, and you have black Roman centurions. Or mixed. You start mixing the races around. It's like, no, sorry, okay, that didn't happen, and you're doing a grave disservice to these kids who are watching this stuff who might start thinking, yeah, there were black soldiers. No, there weren't. If there were any black Romans, like they weren't high-ranking officers. Maybe they some drafty grunts here and there, but no, you're just. That's why what irritates me. A lot of this is these people who are pushed as have no respect for history, and I'm a big history buff. So they start trying to rewrite things. That irritates the hell out of me. And they do it every time when they're trying to get rid of all the monuments of various things. Pretend it never happened. No, that's why there are monuments there, to make sure we don't forget it happened, for what good or ill. These things need to stay in. Now, I don't know. Well, because there's no sense of history, they also have no sense of why there's a statue of this guy. He's an evil soldier, tear it down. No. You want to put a plaque nearby of saying why this was not, why this is a bad guy? Fine, do that, but leave it up, So, And again, next week, that's week. Well, just I'm probably not going to use this for the final review. It'll just be a nice little rough draft, though. I'll probably have to rewatch the episode again, but all right. All right, let's move on to Star Trek here. And by the way, in the description is link to my PayPal, because we're still in the position of not quite sure when that stupid insurance check is going to hit and clear. Apparently, I was misinformed. I was told that they'd already had the check in their bank and they were waiting for it to clear. No, they didn't send out the check until we got the paperwork down there. I'm assuming, maybe irrationally, but since we turned the paperwork in early enough in the day, they should have sent out the fax. They should have sent that check out that day. That was been Friday. So you had over the weekend for the thing to get transported over. So it's a matter of, okay, when is it going to clear the bank? So we're still in a matter of we got stuff in a hotel room. We got to back up out here now because it's the race is over. So the hotel. I am in the computer lab at the shelter I'm in. That's why it's a nice big empty room and lots of echo. Yeah. That's also why I'm trying to get the microphone so I'm not talking so loud and hopefully keeping the echoes down. But it's like I really like this monitor. I want to get one of these monitors when it finally gets set up here because that's a camera built in right in there and it's big. It's like at least a 28-inch monitor. But yeah, we're still at the point of needing some help because we had to scramble today to get some money scrounged up in order to get her a room and enough gas to get back from Orlando, frankly, because that was a little scary too. And thank you, Doomcock. He saved our asses and put out a call, and some various people came through. Thank you. But we still need to do because we ain't out that through this yet. So spread the word. We still need some more money. That's why I got the PayPal link down below in the description. And also in the description, so it'll still be there when this thing gets posted later on the channel. Because just because it ain't live doesn't mean you can't contribute. That link is live. But okay, let's get to the Star Trek questions here. Okay, yeah, like I said, the Romulans. It's a stupid enough idea that they will go for it because again, Kurtzman seems to be fond of the tiny universe where everything is connected, everyone is related to somebody else. Yeah. And let's see, Borg. I think it's probably part of the problem in trying to have the Romulans do it anyway. But I think the way First Contact set it up, I think they were basically had the idea being that they go back in time, prevent first contact with the Vulcans, and then send a message to the Borg of that time, say, "Come here now." Let's assimilate this planet now, so it's no longer a problem later on. And it's like it kind of makes a little bit of sense, as much as that thing does, because they complicate it rather mightily with the Borg Queen. So yeah, I don't know. The Borg have been a mess. I never really didn't really like the Borg in the first place. Well, I guess it's kind of a challenge when I did a Captain April story for Strange New Worlds. I did like the maiden flight of the Enterprise, and had him encounter a damaged Borg cube. And to wrap it all up, I invoked Section 31 to wrap it all up. So I know a little something about how to invoke Section 31 and how to do the Borg, and not break canon in the process. Because also by this point it had been kind of established that Section 31 or Starfleet intelligence probably knew something about the Borg that the rest of Starfleet and the Federation didn't. Not entirely, but they're the ones that sent the Hansen family to go out looking for these people, these things, and study them, and come back with some what and didn't quite work out because they wound up getting assimilated, and little Annika became 7 of 9, and the rest is history. I don't think Kurtzman really watched Voyager or DS9, so I don't think he knows who the hell Neelix is. And plus, you'd have to pay Ethan Phillips a hell of a lot of money to get all that latex back on his face. 7, I think 7. I think Jerry Ryan might be a little bit older, but she still held up pretty well. But the wrong one, I got a thing for Irish girls, so I don't know. I'm kind of torn there. But, actually, the transgender character on there, I think is supposed to be Agnes. There's somewhere there's gonna be she's gonna come with the line. Didn't go this way. That was a man. It's like you're a man. Then got to stick it in somewhere, whether it makes any sense or not. And first the big question: are they gonna get the same guy who played Maddox as who played him back on Measure of Man? Because he's still around, still acting, still working. But yeah, this will not end well because I suppose it's like after the fourth episode, that's when it goes off the rails. Well, judging by the cosplay everyone's engaging in, they got out of this free cloud. Well, it's gonna get extremely stupid extremely quickly apparently. So. One thing about Red, I think it's Red Letter Me thing. Yeah, put Jerry Ryan back in the silver cat suit just for one week. Ah, thank you, Zach. That's a start. $8. Who can match that? Because I really need about another 50 to make sure she can stay in the room if we have to. And as always, also super chats are available for you, but that doesn't help the immediate thing. That would just help her, getting a check out of YouTube. I keep saying AOL. Getting the next paycheck out of YouTube because this channel took a major hit when I wound up in the hospital. I couldn't keep up with even just a regular posting. Never mind doing these things. And this stuff here, it's like as much as we bitch about the Wi-Fi in this joint, and the Wi-Fi is crap because of the way it's set up. Because this building was built as an emergency shelter. Because we're right on the beach here, so it was an emergency family shelter originally, which means concrete walls. It's built like a bunker, and they have the Wi-Fi router in a closed room. These routers are meant to go. They're meant to be the second signal for like to a wood frame house with no problem. It doesn't work too well going through cinder block walls, cement wall. And so, you can get kind of a good signal right next to it, but it drops off very quickly. And also, the thing has to be reset so damn often. It's like 1 minute you get a decent signal, and then it's like crap out because it got overloaded. Because also too many people trying to compete for that one router. Because you got computers on Wi-Fi, and you got smart TVs, and I got my trying to get my Roku going. People got hot, Amazon Fire Sticks and then the thing just shuts down. No one's getting on. No. Oh. Well, again, I don't think. I doubt Kurtzman even saw Enterprise or even would know what the Temporal Cold War was anyway. But what sounds to me is they're ripping off for season 3. They're ripping off Andromeda. They're going to the far, far future where the Federation has fallen, and now they're going to try and build it back up and go around and try and get everyone to be back and come back to be good Federation members again. So hey, Mikey Spock's going to do her imitation of Dylan Hunt in the Andromeda Ascended. Expect a comment from Kevin Sorbo at some point. He's rather active on Twitter. Usually been on the religious side. He's a very, very committed Christian. and fine, gets him gets him through the night. But he's rather proud of the work they did with Andromeda. So so I imagine he'll probably chime in and say, "Hey, this looks familiar." Alrighty. And also, as far as fixing the timeline, it's like Kurtzman couldn't fix a bent straw at this point. What he thinks, he promised at the end of of season two is it'll all be wrapped up and make sense, and no, it didn't. In fact, it made it worse. They're all sworn to secrecy. Oh, is Harry Mudd sworn to secrecy? Are the Klingons sworn to secrecy? Too many people know about that damn ship and about Maggie's buck, and no, you can't just sweep it on the rug and expect no one to say anything about it. Okay? No, sorry. Yeah. In other words, Kurtzman's an idiot. Yeah. It's still baffling how this guy still gets work. I mean, JJ you can kind of understand because his movies have made millions of dollars, and kind of overlook the fact that each franchise he touches gets burned out. But he made a lot of money in the process. But it's Kurtzman, I don't think. Can you really say that? As far as I guess on TV he's got more defense because he also is behind because of Wi-Fi. I've always done well, and MacGyver, and the new. I think he's behind the new Magnum, and Scorpion. I guess had a decent run. I also heard plenty of complaints about Scorpion too, as far as the stupidity of that. But I mean, what they do looks good to the bean counters, but it's like I think, like I said, if some of the stuff is to be believed, like Sherry Redstone is about had it with this crap because. I mean, the ones who bitch about those in the fandom menace. It's like you're just causing. Yeah, we're causing problems because we're trying to save this franchise. Okay, we're not a bunch of haters. Okay, we're probably the most dedicated hardcore Star Trek fans you're gonna find, and as such, I keep bringing this old saw up. Roddenberry's. The Star Trek fans are born with a typewriter in one hand and a roll of stamps on the other, which means we make comments, we make complaints, and we make sure they're sent out and heard. So if he was around today, maybe Star Trek fans are born with a computer in one hand and a Wi-Fi connection on the other. And yeah, we're a pain in his ass, but I don't think he on colder moments appreciate us being a pain in his ass. So keep him honest. He said, he would never turn Star Trek over to the fans, but he would always listen to them. He would listen to the concerns, and see if they're, if they're valid. But he also knew that without the fans, you ain't got a show. You got to have an audience in order to, because who cares if you're doing such groundbreaking and brave and daring stuff if nobody's watching. If you pissed off your core audience so badly, no one wants to watch your shit anymore. That's what these idiots still can't understand. Yeah. It has to be entertaining, okay? And being lectured to isn't entertaining. So, yeah. Okay. Andromeda is a weird thing. I think originally Robert Hugh Wolf was one, and I think originally was kind of pitched as a fall of the long after the fall of the Federation and type of thing, trying to as a Star Trek show, but I think maybe Major will probably no, let's leave Star Trek alone here. But basically, what you had there was a mishmash of two different ideas Roddenberry was working on. Genesis 2 or Planet Earth, whichever, where you have a guy, Dylan Hunt, who basically gets suspended or whatever and is brought back a few centuries later, The world has changed all around him. Everything has fallen to hell in a handbasket. And he has to try and rebuild the world, and with the people he's now in contact with, his new team. And another one that never even got to the pilot stage, but it was just kind of musings in the notepads, called at the time Starship, where it's basically adventures of a sentient starship and its crew. And there was some things, and that's really where that big ring ship comes from. Now, maybe some of those were originally brought up as an idea for the Enterprise, but the one thing I remember seeing is this was going to be proposed as this new, concept, of a sentient starship, and the event going out with the crew. And so you take that, and if you take a look at that ring ship, and you kind of squash it a bit and stretch things here and there, you get the Andromeda. So that and so you just name the starship the Andromeda Ascendant, make the Dylan Hunt the captain thing, and you, instead of being put in suspended animation, you put them the dilation effects of being on the event horizon of a black hole, and that's why it's and same thing, the Systems Commonwealth, it's been thousands of years he's been hanging there. They pull him out, okay, and there you go. But the Andromeda, that's a huge ship. That thing. There's been a few charts there. It. Yeah, we're talking the order of a battle star. That's a big ass ship. Like the main body, I think is slightly bigger than the Enterprise D. Never mind the fact the big loop or big ring around it. There's also, it's like they started getting, because they had the original concept they're going to rebuild the Systems Commonwealth. Well, the way they did the story is that they pretty much accomplished that goal within the first couple seasons. So it's Kevin Sorbo kind of pushed. Okay, we've done our job. Let's go out and have some fun now. Okay, this has been such a downer. It's a dark and serious show. Let's go out and have a little fun. Okay, and then to let the ship go out and start getting into some actual adventures. Yeah, let's see. Now let's look at the. Well, anti-tricker's got a new drink with a cloaking device, whatever. Okay, and then there's the notice of Zachary Melvin's $8. I appreciate it, believe me. Awesome. Another Daniel. Okay, hello. Yeah. We're here yakking around, and I'm putting on occasional, pleas for some more money because we're still not sure when the stupid insurance check's going to clear. Believe me, when that clears, you're not going to hear a peep out of me as far as money for a while. Okay, because it's a pretty good settlement coming our way. We can actually get back with our lives and maybe get a little touristy thing done, and hopefully do some videos on it. But right now it is crunch time though, because it's like we're I got Steph in the hotel room, and she checks out, either check out tomorrow at 11, or we got a few more bucks in there to keep her in another night while we're waiting for the stupid check to finally clear or show up. It'd be direct deposit. It's not like we gotta go find a check, but so it's like when it, but in the meantime, like a little safety margin here in case it takes another day or so. I'd like to be able to get a few more bucks in there to keep her in the room. So now we had to haul her down to Orlando over the weekend because up here it was the Daytona 500, and for the weekend in that situation, it literally was over $1,000. at Motel 6. And everything else, it's like everything else was booked up anyway, and God knows what the Hilton was charging. So I had to go down to Orlando for a weekend down there, and then that one's like, okay, well, that's out. It's like we got to leave anyway, so now the race is over, and the driver is currently in the hospital. I wonder if he got my room, because it's the same hospital I was taken to, because it's literally just up the street from the racetrack. But that is where they take the drivers when they wreck. It's right up there. It's like a few blocks just up from International Speedway Boulevard. And in fact, my room had a decent view of the speedway. You kind of see one of the turns, but you couldn't see actually in there. Maybe you might be able to see coming around one turn. That's about it. But but the floor I was on, that's the one to deal with the trauma. So it's entirely possible this guy got my room. It was a nice room, right in the corner. But yeah, but now the rates are back to normal now. So that as long as they're coming up, bring her up here, got her in a room. Now we got to try and keep her there for a while if need be. And like I said, if this thing hits tomorrow morning, I check my phone. Here I have a direct deposit available. It's like, wow, okay. The final design, the one that because Andy Probert had a slightly different version of the Andromeda of the Ambassador class. It was the secondary hull had more of a keel. He likes keels for some reason, and the nacelles were closer together. And I never liked it. They unbalanced too much, makes it too much like a pizza cutter. But they needed something to be because it was no longer dealing with just a bas relief thing on the back of the wall of the briefing room. Now they needed an actual model, so they handed it to Rick Sternbach, who had made some other necessary changes: a round hull, easier to manufacture, and spread the nacelles out. So, and I kind of like it because the model itself is very straightforward and easy to build. It's a very good model. So it just flaps together and boom. And also, nice thing is the way they built it. The part with the struts is two parts. It's a very easy matter to run wires in there, so you can light the nacelles. So somebody was definitely paying attention when they did that. As opposed to the Enterprise D, where you got to do all kinds of weird things to run lights up in those nacelles. I'm still thinking of I think it was Model Man Tom, where he does copper. You need a thing where we do copper tape, so you can just run it on the outside, paint it, and there's your connection. Instead of having to do this, dig out a trench and then get a second part to put in. I don't want to deal with that. Discount Normandy. Don't think I know that would catch that reference there. Anyway, no, I've got plans for Okay, yeah, a little bizarre about the Lost Serenity. It's painted like Eddie Van Halen's guitar. It's like, what the hell? It's supposed to be some kind of someone trying to be clever here because they're failing miserably. But, no, one of the things that I've got waiting in storage back in Colorado is a couple of lighting projects. Again, they got managed to when they repopped the Clear Enterprise. Got one of those when I could, and there's a separate lighting kit they came out with. Also the fiber optic Enterprise that had a lighting kit in there, but drilling out those windows, especially with the drill they gave you, was kind of a fool's errand because the drill bit will break if you look at it funny. Never mind trying to punch at that plastic. but also you get little pinpoints on the windows. Like, no, the windows are kind of large. So, and the Adobe and the clear thing, that's the way they did the real model. That thing was made of a clear plexiglass or fiberglass, and then paint it and then scrape away where you want the windows to light up. So that's how that's how you want to do it if you want to do it for real. And so I got one of those clear ones, and I got managed to track down another fiber optic enterprise so you transfer the lighting thing that. Got a few ideas how to work that out. Like I said, I'm going to do the copper tape idea for running the power into the nacelle, so I don't have to do any drilling, because especially with I have to imagine clear plastic is very brittle. There's something about the process is when the colored plastic gets stuff in there that makes it a little more flexible. When it's clear, it's just the resin, basically, the parts and everything, and that makes it very brittle. So I can imagine the nightmare trying to gouge out that trench and just snap. Okay, But also want to do because remember they also did a clear version of the Ambassador class, the Yamaguchi. So I managed to track it. Well, yeah, I found one of those actually. It been a big thing on the it was Hobby Talk show, but I found a Yamaguchi for $5 and a 1350 NX01 for about $5. So that was a banner day. The thing is, I've been looking for. I've been wanting because I had lost a lot of kits with one of the evictions. So that was one of the had to replace was one of those Yamaguchi. So finally, was yes. And then also the NX01 because somehow a few parts were missing for the 150 kit that I had. So this one came out real handy. As far as okay, now I got a kit for parts. It was normally like $100. I have yet to pay over because a big amount for any NX01 kit. I paid more for the 1000 kit than I did for either of the 1350s. Because the first 1350 kit I got, it was a sundown video. They were closing down. And this kit was so idiotically marked down. It was like $13 for a 1350 kit. It's like, okay, I'm not going to argue. And then for $5. So I paid less than $20 for two 1350 kits. And I also figured I'm going to use the one, the what parts I don't use the parts to finish up the big 150 because I'm lighting that one. I got a lighting kit in there and everything, but I still got to twinkle that around. The rest of it, I'm going to do a big diorama of the picture in one of the ships of the line calendar, which showed the crash of the NX-02 Columbia. I want to do that. Have that set up. That's a nifty little kit. Yeah. I got one of them with the secondary hull, the refit, and I also recently picked up here. Well, actually, I think it was down a hobby shop down in Orlando, but it was the 1000 the Enterprise and the Botany Bay. I haven't done any painting of them. I just managed to some gluing together. I have to do some putty and sanding on the Enterprise, but the Botany Bay I did a little bit of gluing here and there and a little clamping. But right now they're back in the box and waiting to be transported back so I can actually properly work on them. And that Saturn V rocket I did the video on that's also been boxed back up. And that'll wait until we get a place where we're no longer breathing in cement dust because this place is located directly across the street from a cement plant. Which makes it kind of fun in the morning. I go out to the car and just a little fine layer of dust on the thing. I just want to get to a place where I can build some models again. Because I managed to basically restore my stock for the most part of some models. There's not a lot left, I think, to replace. I got a nice little bunch of older AMT kits. In fact, I got one of them up here too. Like pre '76 ones, where they're still pretty much the original moldings with minor variations. I feel that's a better one because it's fewer inaccuracies. Let's put it that way. Because the final version of the molds, where they fixed some things, but they also did away with the few accurate details on the damn kit. So I was like, what the hell? But, well, let's see. It has been a while, actually. I really did a whole lot of building. Yeah, at least I've had a chance to. The Revell Enterprise kit was kind of interesting. Because one thing, Revell makes very good kits, even if the subject matter is a little strange. But that was kind of interesting. Kind of interesting the fact when it's something like the Enterprise, where it's like the kit is such. I'm not familiar with it enough to where it's like I actually have to read the directions. That's a bit of an interesting challenge. Because I said before, I even tried to do it with that old 18-inch Enterprise. Like, we can build this thing blindfolded. The one flaw in that theory I'd found out is the fact you're dealing with the glue. So yeah, I can identify the parts and figure which one is which. But yeah, but then you try and kind of glue it onto the thing blindfold. That doesn't work too well. So. Whoo. I do need to get into Reliant, I've got a big refit Enterprise. In fact, I want to get another one because I do want to do a big 350 scale version of my little abused ship, the Eldridge. A little bit. It's an idea. Came up with. I don't know. It's kind of an idea for a fanfic thing, which I might do something with somewhere. I don't know, but either short story or something, or actually some little fan film idea using the Kingsland sets in some capacity. But basically, the idea being the USS Eldridge, the last and definitely least of the Constitution class starships. This one never entered service because it could never really get past the shakedown phase without something going wrong. It's basically, this ship is not going to get into service, and it's like it would eventually it just start using it in the local, because it was a dry dock queen. They're constantly breaking down something, so they just started using it to test new systems, mostly shields. So it got shot at a lot by other ships. They also gave it one last shot at trying to see if they could make that multitronic unit, the M5. They see if they could actually make it work. Just use somebody else's engrams instead of Daystrom. And also make sure that it was strictly advisory. They did not give it control of anything except for a coffee maker on deck 7. And the thing is, because it was also while they're doing testing weapons, this computer went totally psycho paranoid stuff. So again, while it couldn't do anything except the effect that like I said, it did have this control over this coffee maker on deck 7. It had to control something. So it's basically, if you're on a red alert, stay out of rec room on deck 7 because there's just coffee everywhere. Are we talking the repop? No, we're talking that repop of the one about 22 inch. But anyway, the Eldridge. After just it got used for again testing the various systems before they try them on the rest of the fleet. Eventually, they kind of mothballed the ship for a while, but then the Dominion War comes along, and as the Frankenstein fleet that ran on trying to retake DS9 showed, they needed ships, and they didn't care where they came from or what condition or what they had to do to get them working. So the Eldridge gets dragged out, and barely refit. As in, yeah, it gets refit style engines, but they're on the old struts. That kind of thing. And you get a refit style deflector shift. You just pushed into the old, the old housing. You stick a refit style bridge module on top and refit style sensor dome on below, and they kind of somehow crammed the newer photon torpedo launcher right under the bottom of the secondary, the primary hull. So it's kind of sticking out there a little bit. Makes for a kind of slightly bizarre thing. And also the impulse engine. They replaced the impulse engine, So it's kind of haphazard. And the model I got so is combination. It was mainly because I think it was part of because I had a refit kit that was kind of falling apart, and I couldn't really get it back, so I had these parts to play around with here. And just to be, just to make it a little extra wonky, the refit, the nacelles, I put different registry numbers on them. None of them the registry of the Eldridge. These were just nacelles they pulled out of, from other ships that they can just slap them on there. They're not quite straight. And this ship strictly, is behind the lines, doing milk run stuff. At least that's the official route, the story. The unofficial thing is it's a spy ship. It was, Section 31 and Starfleet Intelligence. They'd run covert missions back way from there. The inspiration being kind of like sort of a Hogan's Heroes, McHale's Navy type of thing. You don't send. These aren't the best and the brightest. This is kind of where you go, the misfits. People that would otherwise you might be. You can either be court-martialed or you can go to the Eldridge for a while. Okay, yeah, that model's always had problems. Okay, but it's also a good size and it's an easy build for the most part. I still remember getting my first refit model from Woolco in Wheat Ridge. That was a Walmart up until recently. I don't know if they've done anything with it since then. Once they built the new Walmart in Arvada, they pulled everything out of there, and that whole shopping center's gone to hell anyway. A lot of empty storefronts and wannabe stormtroopers for security people that are very nasty people. Oh, somebody has some antique dealer bunch on eBay. They had basically what it was the a partial, not quite complete refit. That version of that mod. In fact, it was the lights and sounds version because there are holes where they put the running lights in. So I figured that was the lights and sounds version of the refit Enterprise. But like I said, the engines were on backwards. It was missing the main deflector. It was also missing everything else. They didn't have the lights, didn't have the stand. There were no decals on it. One of the windows things was hanging out. But these guys in the description said it was resin, appears complete, and they're asking $90 for the damn thing. And I kind of had to send them a series of messages that, no, it's not resin. This is the kind of model it is, and it's worth maybe $5 in the current condition. Okay, it's not that rare, and the fact they're still making this kit. Okay, so no sane person is going to pay $90 for this model. And I got a message back like, oh, we'll delete the rest, and they still haven't deleted. It's still up. They're still asking $90 for the damn thing. So I might say I'll try again, offer them $5 for it. Because it make an interesting reclamation project. Mainly just trying to get those engines off that it sells, depending how much glue was used to put them on there. But let's see. Yeah. Which model do you hate the most? I don't know about that. 'Cause I hate I didn't buy it in the first place. So I'm sort of not into the subject matter. And hate's a bit of a strong term anyway. Just like I didn't like it, didn't bother with it. But uh, let's see. Anything else come in? Nope. Hmm. Clear that out. All right. Let's see. I know I got that. Let's see. I don't know. I can't really think of any model I really hate. I don't know. Nothing springs to mind. I'm sure there's something. There's something. Oh, I hate that. But let's see. I got it. One of those. I forget what company made it, but the vacuum form thing of the Stargazer. That was a pain in the butt. Yeah. That's just it's vacuum form plastic. So snap together, not so much. I did find one thing about that Enterprise kit is though I had to because I realized that you really got to glue them together. They don't say they go that well, snap together. So at some point you have to glue them together. So I'm trying to glue together the secondary hull. The problem is the peg and the hole towards the back of the in the aft section of the secondary hull is a little too big. At least on this one it was. So I just had to break the damn thing off in order to close the gap, on the hangar deck. So another thing with the because generally a snap together kit is usually a little bitty one, and small kits I'm not that hot on because it's just tough to work on them that small. I'm like a good big size model. You can get in there and get the details. Yeah, I was going. I'm breaking on clamps and stuff to try and get the thing closed. And I had to break that pin out because it wasn't going together otherwise. No, that Enterprise kit that I got, I still haven't glued the nacelles on. I think they're still just popping in and off. And I'm trying to think, did I? I don't think I glued the secondary hull on either. The primary hull. I think that's still snapped together. So if the snap together works, yeah, I go with the snap together because I think it might actually be useful, in painting if I can just take them off and do the painting that way. Don't have to worry about they didn't get any paint on the seam here. I know that 1000 Klingon was a bit of a pain in the butt. I don't think I got me one of those. I'm seeing. I think that one may have gone bye bye in the purge, and I really haven't felt compelled to replace it. But I've actually been going, looking more for the older, big, Klingon kits. I think I've gotten a couple of those. Got one of them with lights. That's going to be fun to get that one fixed again. But I also want to get one of the newer ones because that one they did an interesting choice when they redid the Klingon battlecruiser. Is that they changed the mold a bit? Cause it's not a bad idea because when they're going to put out what is essentially a reproduction of an old kit, is do something different, and you can't just do new decals. And, so what they did with the Klingon ship is they made it accurate to the filming miniature, which the original kit really wasn't. They had some details on there that weren't on the final filming model. They probably were going to be, but they were in a rush. So it was a case of got the one mount close enough. They didn't have the washboard grills in the forward section. They didn't have the little things on the upper section, the little vent thing, and they also changed the details on the little kind of louvered things up front of them on the Cobra head. But it's subtle changes. But I would like to get one of those, just as comparison to the old kids. Let's see. I know the Romulan bird of prey was also a bit of a pain in the butt, mainly because of the decal. That's like huge decals are really a bitch sometimes. And also that old bird of prey kit wasn't all that accurate. But then the very little reference material at the time. We're talking the 70s, and all you got is still frames from the episode. So most of the behind the scenes stuff wasn't really well known. I mean, I think they're out there, but you've got to really had to dig for them. So it's the kind of way you've got to be a little forgiving of Franz Joseph and the blueprints, because there wasn't much reference material out there to go from, and he pretty much worked from whatever pictures his daughter managed to dig up from Lincoln Enterprises, because she was working with or at least volunteers at Lincoln Enterprises. So so we worked with Bijo on that. So stuff from that, and it's primarily making a Star Trek, because they have a breakdown of the ship, and the way the ship's was laid out, but it's not really clear in some places. And there's a few mentions in there that are actually a little bit on the erroneous side. It talks about headquarters for engineering section is in the right back by the impulse engines. Well, he took that to mean main engineering. Was there? No. And then he went up, with the secondary hull and was trying to duplicate everything that was in the primary hull. It's like, no, that's, because another name for that was the engineering hull. And if you ask Matt Jeffries, and people did ask him, where's engineering? He's in the engineering hull. It was down below. And there's dialogue in the episodes, talking about engineering being the lower levels. So that was also the thing when I was trying the deck plans for the Enterprise. So that went round and around on that. And I've actually came across some drawings that I don't know when, probably junior high or something, but trying to make that engine room up in the secondary of the primary hull work, and it just doesn't. Okay. So I was trying all kinds of weird things with that. But I think I did come across a solution that I think satisfies as many of the different references, in dialogue as possible. And even as just to start off as a joke, but as far as the differences in engine rooms from first season to second season. Because I basically, I changed it to the first season engine room, that is forward of those big tubes. The second and third season engine room, that's after the tubes. You got basically engine rooms on both sides. Like, why the hell not? And they just shifted emphasis from one room to the other. Just changed the bulkhead, to blocking off one side or the other. I was like, maybe that back room wasn't there before, because the contours of the room totally changed. They didn't just add a couple of things in there. They really changed that engine room a lot between seasons, to the point where it's not the same set. The only thing the same is really the big tube thing, and I suppose the big consoles. But what they did is they split them, put a put some step ladders in between the two. But we really can't explain it. It just changed the decoration. It's a totally different room. But one of the things I did ditched when I was laying that out is not have those tubes have any real connection with the nacelle struts and the nacelles, because that's what everyone, even Drexler, has done that. Yeah, back there they go to this out. No, they don't. Okay. They really, because the angle's all wrong, and not just the fact that they're going inward, not outward. The angle is too steep. They have to go over there and then change angle completely. And that also doesn't address certain references to it being like something to do with the impulse engine. So what I did is moved them up front to the manifold, and that goes everywhere. And the warp engines, that's something totally different we don't see. But I don't know how I got on that tangent. It just happens. But it's filling time. Yeah, it's 1:30. And again, part of this is they're also trying to raise a little more money so you can guarantee that I'll be able to keep stuff in that hotel room in case that check again doesn't clear tomorrow or later today, technically. But so yeah, the PayPal address is in the description if you feel inclined. Otherwise, we'll just keep on yakking here for a while. And not really speed controls. Not, at least not the handle. Just was just sort of like turned on, tell it where it goes, and it goes. But the turbo lift is probably something of those things. Is like don't look too closely at that because the system probably kind of falls apart if you look at it too closely. But another thing I kind of figured about the bridge is always a pain in the ass to try and rationalize because it's one of those cases of TV geometry. It doesn't always fit. But something I figured is like I noticed that any contemporaneous references, as in something from the time of the show, they never refer to that tube on the back of the bridge dome as anything. I mean, yeah, it probably was intended to be the turbolift shaft, but they never say it's the turbolift shaft, so that gives you some wiggle room as far as what it actually is. So it's kind of like how to justify having the bridge face straight ahead while the turbolift is off to the kind of 30 degrees off on the left there. And between figuring that the only time you ever see the bridge way up at the top is when it's in the larger dome for the pilots, and figured that instead of when the dome is shorter, what they actually did was just lower it halfway down. The bridge is still at the bottom of that dome, but the bottom of the dome is now halfway inside the ship. And all they did was like take out that round briefing room that was directly below, so it goes down a bit in there. But also figuring that if the turbos, we don't need to have the thing shift over and go to that tube because there's also problems with that tube that doesn't quite match up anyway. Because the way it's set, it doesn't really intersect very well in the interior anyway. So I figured, okay, how about we declare that to be the subspace radio transceiver array? That's a good shot right there, because that does match up with the Uhura station rather nicely. And go with that. So I thought that was a nice solution to that problem. And again, that way, don't have to do anything with the turbo. That's where it is. It goes up. Now I did have a thing, in playing with the bridge though. Figured, it's a modular design type thing. So I figured, okay, well, certain bridge modules they have the turbo lift over here. Other ones it's kind of reverse. It's over here. You can have some of them where it's like they don't need certain stations, so you got two turbo lifts, and just for whatever bridges are like just on ships that are like don't really do much of anything, but take dignitaries around. You got three turbo lifts back there. What the hell? And just the turbo shaft arrangement is just there's a little C shape back there where they can go up and up. And as always keeps being cited whenever talking about the turbo lifts. Well, because there are a few times where it does go horizontally before opening up on the bridge. So you got Canon on-screen information showing that yes, the turbolift does move horizontally before opening. So there's got to be something back there. Actually, let's see. I had to think. Well, the way I figured, the closest I can come is like there's like just sort of hidden doors, hidden ports for torpedo launchers, and I think I had like 6 lined up. Just because the way I'm doing it is the ring around the planetary sensor. That's your phaser emitter. It's kind of like a bunch of little emitters, range on the thing. That way you can change the thing, but it's like and the photon torpedo tubes because they were never really exact, and when they were always a little bit different whenever they showed them firing off. So I just had just like a row of like 6, ports that never really fully. But if you look, it's kind of like the details that you never saw regularly. But if they were to do like a really really high def picture of that, oh there we are, little lines there, like torpedo tubes in a sub. There, and I think it'd be like they just sort of snap open to launch the tube, and you don't see them in the glare of the torpedo, so you never see them anyway. That's how they justify that one. But yeah, those last 2 decks on there, it's like yeah, you got. I mean, also pretty much all automated. What I had, so you had like 6 tubes and then a whole bunch of torpedoes. They just be shoved in there as need be. I think somewhere there's maybe animator pods to feed it, but but I had some fun with it. And also, when uh, when Enterprise did their Mirror Universe episode, and we got the Defiant, and we got to see, I think aft weapons had been referred to in some dialogue or background dialogue in the original series. So yeah, it wasn't totally out of left field that you had rear phasers and torpedoes on the Defiant. Now they originally wanted to have the thing like in the middle of the neck. But it's like no, the effects guy did it better with having it like with the planetary sensor with the ring around that being the phaser emitter. Same thing with the homing beacon on the back, or right over the shuttle bay. That ring is the rear phaser emitter, and it comes shoots out of that. And then I had the torpedoes seem to be coming out of the back. And again, they want to coming out of the neck. It's like there's too much to those struts. I don't want those in line of fire. And again they didn't depict it that way anyway. So what works better is a torpedo launcher on the fan tail of either side of the hangar doors. And it makes for a good defense because someone tries coming in the back way. No, blast them. No one's sneaking on board this ship. What we haven't figured out is there was also a reference to midship weapons. But I'm also figuring it's like thinking back on it as far partially as the thing to really how detailed you want to get on these stupid plans. There's also thinking, some of this stuff is going to be a little classified, so you don't necessarily want to show every little system on board that ship. And also certain things that because it was really getting to the point. Okay, now it's getting time to start depicting the quarters, and that came to. I was like, okay, that's a lot of repetitive drawing. Not a computer; it's a pain in the ass. But also, it's like the crewmen are capable of rearranging the furniture in their quarters however they want. So it's not necessarily got to be the same anything. So I think if I ever pursue those things a little further, I'm just going to have like just a block of crew quarters, and then just have a few things off the side, examples, and do Like have one for senior. This is how senior officers' quarters arranged. This is how junior officers and this is how enlisted. You know, and enlisted guys would have the bunk. The roommates, bunk beds. You know, although actually with a ship that's like Kevin said, there's not enough room. 430 people on a ship that size. That's not much. Okay. Really, because just think about in the rec room scene in the motion picture, that's 430 people all in one room. That was kind of they wanted to get a look at the entire crew. That was kind of the whole point, and also a chance for Roddenberry to say thank you to the fans because we wouldn't be here making this movie if it wasn't for you guys. So. I always got to kick out because that scene right up front is David Gerald, and he's standing there all nice and he's kind of angled, facing the thing, looking as heroic as he can in his beige jumpsuit. But, yeah, there's a lot of famous fans, quite a few fans and other people that were in that crowd. B. Joe is in there somewhere, although she's way in the back. Just back a little bit, so I'm in the land of the giants, so you never see her. Back on the railing, Susan Sackett, Gene's assistant, is back there in a white jumpsuit. Also somewhere in there are Jimmy Doohan's two sons, Chris and Montgomery. A little thing like people forget is that Montgomery was Jimmy Doohan's middle name. That is why Scotty's first name is Montgomery. I think it's the case of the right, saying, what's his first name? And, there's Jimmy Doohan. Name him Montgomery. Because they would take suggestions like that back in the day. It's like, how did Lieutenant Leslie get his name? It was Bill Shatner. Because there was a scene where they, having to take us out of orbit or something. I can't just call him Hey You. Give him a name. So he named him after one of his daughters. Oh yeah, that room was pretty much an entire soundstage by itself. Yeah, they had a bit of a thing argument placing that rec room because they changed art directors a few times, and the name was Harold Michelson. He wanted to put it right dead center in the back of the primary hull. And he had to be talked out of that one because no, that's where the impulse engines are. Okay, it's got to be off to the side. Okay. I mean, he did, have a clear idea. The general idea was that they were not sure how much of the ship is actually finished yet, so because they're rushing this thing out into action. So he had an idea on that one. But yeah, there's a few points where they locked horns a little bit. In fact, the idea for the arboretum on the bottom of the secondary hall, you can see on the windows and see the trees and stuff. He nixed that originally. He didn't like it, whatever. But then he was gone, and when I think it was when Trumbull came in, yeah, put it in there. So they put it back in there. And actually, that rec room wouldn't fit in the hull anyway. So it's another case of movie geometry. Okay, if you're to walk on the real thing, it isn't as big as it seemed on screen. Well, yeah, camera angles can be funny things. But, yeah. All right. But okay. Well, it makes sense if you're loading cargo through the shuttle bay. Yeah. I think also it was around that time that they were talking about the environmental force screens where you can have the doors open but it'll hold the air in and allow a solid object to punch through it, but you don't lose any atmosphere that way. So what gets a little weird is you're trying to figure out that how does engineering fit into that. So I think that's a little complicated. But yeah, it's no problem because you I don't know somehow drop the back of the open up the back wall of the hangar deck and load them right into the hangar, the cargo bays. The game plan is once we get money and can get ourselves, ready in a nice, calm, rational manner, gonna get. Uh, I think possibly I can probably load up everything I'm taking out of here in the back of the car. Because I decided I'm taking the desk. I'll get another desk when I get out there. It's just a Walmart thing anyway. But I can get the TV back in the box and probably throw the DVDs in there with it and a few other things. And just load that up in the back of the car and then get stuff. Then we go down to Orlando, get the Walmart, we get the U-Haul truck and the trailer for the car, load up the truck, and then we're gone. And then heading back to Denver. Anyway, when this check clears, that will not be an issue. Okay, it's the question of do we want to do any touristy tests before we actually load up and leave? But like I said, right now we're just in a crunch time of trying to make it through to that period. And I was thinking by all rights that check should clear really any day now, but I don't know how long it's going to take for this thing to finally show up because USAA, it's like they're fine if you're the one being insured. They're very responsive in that. But when you're the one waiting for them to pay out, they like to drag their feet and send physical checks. Now, I'm hoping that they sent this thing overnight. If they send it regular mail, we're screwed because it's going to take for freaking ever here. But I would hope they would get this thing paid out because they're not going to want this thing on their books any longer than have to. So it's just irritating that in this day and age with with the PayPal and electronic transfers, they're sending physical checks. They could have wrapped this thing up in 10 minutes instead of dragging it out forever. But once it hits and it clears, hits the lawyer's thing. We get the direct deposit and we're back in business and happy days are here again. Make a little run around, go down to NASA, replace the shirts I lost in the crash from them. Probably hit Think Geek, replace a few more shirts because I lost both my Millennium Falcon shirts in that crash. One of them I got from Think Geek. Yeah. And the other one I actually got at the thrift store, but I'm going to track one down eventually. But yeah, I lost a lot of good, one of my favorite shirts in that crash. I got a lot of replacement to do. As far as once we get back on there, it's going to be camping out at a certain hotel while we get reestablished the mailbox up there, and then hopefully try and get approved for the VA version of the Section 8 program because we've already got a place picked out that takes Section 8 vouchers and stuff. So we kind of did a little ass backwards because we didn't quite know how it worked back then. Because normally you try and get the voucher and then you find a place. But no, we got a place picked out and they take vouchers. They still got places available. So now it's just get the voucher. Okay. Hightail it to that place. We're in. Yeah. Here's a voucher. We'll take a 2-bedroom. And the thing is, it's located about a 5-minute drive from the radio station that we can get back in. Hopefully get back into, and then start back to keeping my resume current. And with any luck, be able to get back in touch with the program director at the Mountain and maybe get in a gig that way. I'm not totally opposed to working, okay, but there's only so much I can do and still be effective, and I can do radio. God knows I can still DJ, okay. I mean, at this point, I think if that happens, like this channel is my retirement plan. And that, and also when I hit 62, do you want to put in for an early retirement? Okay, that's it. Start sending me money. Yeah, just give me my social because they've already said, I'm eligible for Social Security for retirement that way. I don't qualify for the disability things. Apparently, I don't have the points, which no one bothered to explain back at the time. Yeah, you got to work. emails here. That's not good. Well, Oxford Mail here. Yes, Oxford United is getting back on track there after being humiliated. Yeah. What? Humiliated at one time. Like they took it all out on poor Wimbledon. Beat the crap out of them 5-0. Yeah. If it's a straight, comedy thing like Spaceballs type thing, yeah, no problem. I'm rather a fan of Spaceballs. The Galaxy Quest thing is never really. Once Alan Rickman died, that the enthusiasm for that project kind of withered up. The problem is that comedy and science fiction is Discovery is a parody of itself anyway, so it's already self-parody. So I wouldn't go near it, except to mock it mercilessly. But no, comedy and science fiction has always been a bit of a tough thing anyway. So when it happens and it works, you learn to appreciate it. That's why Red Dwarf is Red Dwarf is so appreciated. And thankfully, the female reboot is not happening apparently. At least the guys that do Red Dwarf, back in they're saying they haven't heard anything about it. So, and I would think it would have to go through them at some point if they're gonna, if any plans they're gonna do of actually making this thing. So now maybe Kurtzman's made noise. Oh yeah, we can do an all-female thing. It'll still be in the same universe. Yeah, like what you've done Discovery and Picard. No, like, please leave that alone. Yeah, and hopefully, because a little bit gripe about posting rumors and stuff like Seth buying Star Trek and even if it is total crap, I think it does serve a larger purpose as far as letting these corporations be able to properly gauge the attitude of the fan base. Because when you replace you report a theory that they're looking at selling Star Trek to NBC and Seth MacFarlane when the response of the fans by and large is, "Oh God, please let this be true." That's a pretty good indicator. You got a problem on your hands. That nobody trusts you and your team to do it properly. So, yeah, I think apparently the information that's been coming over through stuff is like they're only they will do 3 seasons because the original series had 3 seasons, and they can't very well let any other show that go down with less than 3 seasons. So it's got to get that third season out of the way and be done with it. That being said, Picard will probably be lucky to get more past this season. There's also apparently the indication is that Kurtzman will be gone by May. There's nobody left in the CBS board to defend him because all the Moonves loyalists are gone. They're all Redstone people now. The big thing is they don't have any idea what they're doing. Yeah. I think it's also it's like one of the things I think that has changed the the way these shows are handled is the home video market. So I think there may be an element of at least get 3 seasons so we can market this thing home video, be done with it. Because there's also enough people who are such completists. They gotta have all the DVDs, even if they know it sucks. They gotta have that DVDs. Gotta get that Blu-ray. And one thing I've learned not to be a completist. Again, like if it sucks, it sucks. I don't want it. So yeah, so there's times I've warned people. It's like don't give me anything related to the JJ Trick movies. It's like no. I mean, I'll appreciate the general spirit of the gifts given, but otherwise, like no, don't bother. I'll use it for target practice. Okay, where are we at here? It's coming up on 2 in the morning. I probably should give it up here. Again, Zachary, thank you for the $8, but no one else is chipping in apparently. So, yeah, I know they got 3 people. They're not gonna browbeat you guys. So, I think maybe we'll go at it again. See if we can get some stuff. Or again, Doomcock put out the plea today and on Twitter, and it raised some much needed money real quick. But hopefully, some more people will see it and we will get a few more. But yeah, or also hopefully tomorrow that check will show up in the in the direct deposit. It's like hella freaking Luya. I might buy a second car. Or at the very least, cause I did a little digging and finally found where the local comic book shops are. Two of them, each of them 5 miles in other directions here. So I might give them a look before we head out of town. Yeah, sooner or later someone's going to come in and say, what the hell are you doing here at this hour? So, and if you're just coming up, and again, if you're catching this thing on the replay, again, description, in the description is the PayPal link. So, and we are in the situations where, yeah, I hate doing this, but that's the position, again, on the lower rungs of the YouTube food chain, I'm at the thing where it's like, theoretically, yeah, I'm getting paid for it, but the things don't pay out until you get $100, and I'm like 30. So after accumulation of a few months, because this channel took a major hit when I took a major hit, so still trying to build back up to that. So when we need to keep my wife in a hotel room until we get our settlement money in, so we need to at least ensure that happens. So I'm again doing the desperate plea for some money here. We only need like maybe about $50 at present. And again, don't need to be a hero if you yourself. Just every little bit helps here. So, and again, that goes back to also the Patreon situation where I got 2 patrons, and I really need money, and I got a $1 level. So, I don't think there's anything with Doomcock and Gary being the same person, but those two are tight now. And again, Gary is only fandom overlord in the sense that he has the most subscribers right now. But the thing is the fandom menace has no leaders. It is an amorphous group, and also really best described instead of just a bunch of agitating haters. We are a consumer advocacy group. We are advocating for quality in our entertainment, and we are sorely lacking that quality right now. It's just going for the cheap, titillation or whatever, and just go for the lowest common denominator, and just go, just find this little pew pew, lens flares, and oh look, and then rampaging through the runtime, so you don't notice how idiotic the plot is. Yeah, I remember when I was giving Doomcock shoutouts. When he had fewer subscribers than me, he was just getting on there, and then he just went screaming by me like I was standing still. It's like never underestimate the value of a good gimmick. Like a funny mask, a slightly processed voice, and a little stuffed sidekick. So the man knows what he's doing. Clearly, and thankfully he still likes us because again he saved our ass today. That's for damn sure. So all right, it's about 2 in the morning. I got to get some sleep at some point here. So yeah, it is. It's just turned 2. So I'm gonna go and wrap this up here. Like I said, if you maybe I don't know. Like I said, originally I was giving him shout outs because hey, check this guy out. He's coming up here. But yeah, I got to wrap this up here because sooner or later it's going to say that's it. Get out. Go to bed. So like I say, if you're catching this on the after repeat, in the description there you see the PayPal link. Throw some money at us, please, because we got it's tight right now. If this check doesn't hit in the morning, then we're going to be scrambling again trying to get money to find her get her room. And I really don't have the gas go driving around all damn day. So yeah, good evening. It's actually good morning out here. It's like it's at 2 in the morning here. So all right, catch you later, guys.